Morning, everyone. Over Shavuos, I heard a great line, and the line was, if you're going through difficult hardships, remember that during the test, the teacher is silent. This week's parsha, we have the Birchat Kohanim, the priestly blessings. And we all know the threefold blessing. We say it every morning in the Shemona Esrei. And the opening verse says, Ko tevarchu et bnei Yisrael, that the Kohanim should bless the Jewish people. Emor lahem, say to them. So Rashi says, why does the verse have to say unto them? It could have just said, so shall you bless the Jewish people. And then proceed with the actual blessing. May God bless you and protect you. May God shine His countenance towards you. Why the words emor lahem? And Rashi says that the construct, grammatically, of the word emor is similar to shamor and zachor. That on Shabbat it says remember and observe. And the word shamor, zachor, emor, the way it's grammatically constructed, it implies something that is ongoing and constant. So therefore what it's saying is that the blessings are not just at the time that the Kohen is giving the blessing, but the blessing which actually comes from Hashem, as the following verse after the priestly blessing says, that you should place my name upon the children of Israel. God says, I will bless them. The Kohen are just a conduit, because they can do it. They could give the blessing. But it's Vani Avarchim. God is blessing us. Just like Shabbat is not just one day a week, but every day we remember Shabbat. We just said Hayom Yom Revi'i Shabbat. It's the fourth day of Shabbat, the fifth day of Shabbat. Every day we have to remember Shabbat, count toward Shabbat. So to the priestly blessing is not just at the time that the Kohanim give the blessing, like on Shavuot when the Kohanim stood up and gave the blessing, but it's Vani Avarchem, this blessing is ongoing and constant. But Rashi could have brought many words to prove this idea that it's constant. Why from Shabbat? And one of the interpretations is as follows, that Shabbat is a holy day. And God says every seventh day is holy, because I created the world in the sixth day. The seventh day I blessed and I made it holy. God blessed and made it holy. Now, some people observe it in a holy way by observing Shabbat. Others go about treating it like a regular day. But it doesn't diminish the holiness. Whether you tap into the holiness or whether you don't, it's still a holy day. Regardless, because God made it a holy day. So too Hashem is saying to us that these blessings, whether you feel the love or you don't feel the love, whether you feel blessed in your life or you don't feel blessed at that particular moment, just like whether or not you're observing Shabbat, it's still a holy day, so too God says, I am blessing you and I am loving you even if you're not feeling it at the moment. And our job, obviously, is like the Kohanim, to reveal that love, to reveal that blessing, to recognize it, to identify it, and to express it in our lives and the lives of others. It's a true story about a woman by the name of Hannah Sarah Geltsaler. She's a Hasidic woman, lives in Muncie. And she was going to New Jersey one day, and she's driving on the Garden State Parkway, and she pulls off to get gas. And she goes into the pump, and in New Jersey, someone has to pump your gas. So she sees the attendant coming to pump her gas, and she sees he's a midget. He's like 3.5 feet tall. Comes up, he starts pumping gas in her tank, asks her how much she wants. And then he goes over to the window, takes out one of these squeegees and starts washing her window. As he's washing her window, he freezes and he starts pointing to something in the front seat of her car. She looks over and what does she see? She had a big picture, a big 11 by 14 portrait of her father. And the man's pointing. So she opens the window, he says, why are you interested in the picture? He said, do you know that man? He said, what do you mean do I know the man? It's my father. He says, that's your father? And she says, yeah, that's my father. He says, where's he been? I haven't seen him in 2 years. I miss him. He says, you know my father? He says, yeah. He said, what's your name? She says to him, he says, my name is Vinny. How do you know my father? What do you mean? He always stopped for gas here. But I haven't seen him. I've been wondering where he's been for 2 years now. She tells him, I'm so sorry to tell you, but 2 years ago he was killed in a bus accident. And her father was a big rabbi in a big yeshiva in New Jersey. And he starts crying. She says to him, why are you crying? How do you know my father? He says, I want to tell you something. I stand here in this New Jersey gas station for years. in the winter and the summer, whether it's hot or cold, freezing weather, everyone pulls up, they tell me how much gas they want, I pump it, they drive off, no one talks to me. Your father would always get out of the car and talk to me and befriend me and say, you know, Vinny, you're my inspiration. Because you have every reason to be depressed, to stay in bed and say, why should I get out of bed? The whole world looks at me, I'm just a small little person. And yet you get up and you do your job with a smile, with pride. And when I go to the yeshiva where I teach 200 students, I tell them about you and I say, if Vinny can get up and do his job, despite his handicap, and put on a positive attitude, you have to get up and do your job every day with joy. And if he could do it, we have no excuses. And he tells Rachel Geldsela, your father was the only person who ever made me feel tall. So no matter what we have in our lives, we always have to remember, sometimes the teacher's silent during the test, but Hashem says to us, Emor lahem, I am constantly seeking your good, I am constantly blessing you, I am constantly showering you with my love.